Yes, the video quality is going to be shitty in this video, but it's been on my mind a little bit lately, more so than normally because I'm hearing it more. So if you remember a while back, I did a video. Every time, and I know this is something small to complain about, but just bear with me. About how the people at the store right there from our house, my wife smokes cigarettes. So a few times a week, we're in there buying her cigarettes. The same people sell us the cigarettes. I don't get any younger, yet every single time we're in there, they card us. The excuse is because we have to. Well, why do you have to? Because we're told to. Yet it makes no fucking sense. Well, I care about my job. So, remember that. Same store the other day, I went in, I bought a box of Cowtails. Kind of hard to find around here, so when we see them, we just buy them by the box. It was like 50 in a box. The lady started ringing them up, one individually. One, pick up another one, ring it up, drop it, pick up another one, ring it up. And I'm like, there's 50 of them. It's a whole box. Ring up one 50 times. Well, I can't do that. What do you mean you can't do that? Well, the cameras are watching me. I was like, but it makes sense. There's a fucking line here. Doesn't it make more sense to ring the same one up? Because you're going to save 2 minutes of time just dropping and picking them up. She said, well, I've been told I'm not allowed to do that. And plus the cameras are watching me and I value my job. And I'm like, but it makes no sense. Like, why just do shit that makes absolutely no sense? Don't you realize that, like, that's why people have been locked in their house? Were locked in their houses for 2 years is because people were doing shit that just made absolutely no sense. I equated it to what she was doing, and I didn't really equate it. I just mentioned that there were these dudes called the SS, and they just did what they were told to, along with the Gestapo, brown shirts, red shirts, NKVD, Red Army, and the list goes on and on. And she got instantly pissed. He got mad because I compared her to Nazis. I was like, no, I didn't compare you to a Nazi. What I compared was your similar mindset of I have to do what I'm told just because I'm told to do it, even though there's no fucking valid reason for it. Is Dollar General going to fire you because you rang up 50, a whole box, an unopened box of Cowtails rather than ringing each one up at a time? They're going to fire you for that? I don't know. If they do you really want to work for them anyway? And then, of course, it was the belittling because I said that she had the mindset of a Nazi, or at least they were similar. She's had a master's in something. Asked me if I had a master's in whatever. I thought she said a master in something to do with it. I don't know. And I was like, no, but can you build a house? She's like, well, if I had to. I was like, well, I can plug bullet holes. So, and, like, what's your point? Like, having a master's doesn't make you intelligent, obviously, because you're doing what you're told, even though it makes no fucking sense at the simplest level. It's an unopened box, lady. So anyway, I always see the negative side of shit now because I've been like, people say that there's the black pill, they've been black pilled. I am the fucking black pill. I see the negative in everything now because I see the bullshit in everything. We're raised up from the time we're young to be good little working beasts, to do as we're told. There's always the authority, right? Throughout school, you have the teachers, they're your authority. You start driving the car, the cops are the authority. You turn 18, the government's the authority. All along, you have your parents who are the authority, and the only legitimate authority is parents. That's it. And that only goes so far. We've been trained to fail. And we're going to fail because we listen. And we listen because we fear the consequence. Today, I was at Picone's house. His neighbor is the jailer for the county. I didn't know this until I was sitting there talking to him for a few minutes. He's the jailer for the county. And he was talking about how, he doesn't refer to people in the jail as inmates because, they're just people. A lot of them are in there for the very things he has done. The only difference is they got caught. I was like, do you really mean that? So you actually did things that you're holding people in jail for? He was like, yeah. I was like, So let them go. Don't hold them. It's like, well, I can't do that. Why not? Because I have to do what the judge says. I'm like, no, you don't. You're the jailer. Don't bullshit me. I'm not some dick that ain't never been locked up, brother. Don't bullshit me. You hold them because you're told to. Because you fear the consequence of it. You fear the judge coming to you and saying, hey, why'd you let this person out? And instead of saying, hey, it's the moral thing to do, because I know, number one, they're not harming nobody. They didn't commit a real crime. Number two, how am I supposed to hold somebody for the very things I've done in my life? So you'll see this compound over time, and it's going to get worse, and we're watching it get worse in front of our eyes. Like with the guns. California just passed a bill. They're offering $10,000 for you to turn in your risky neighbor with a firearm. That can't go south, can it? The people aren't not just going to be turning in fucking everybody collecting that $10,000, are they? Yeah, no, they won't. And we talked about that a couple of years ago, how they're going to start offering rewards for shit like that. And here we are a couple of years later, and what are they doing? Don't just do shit because you're told to. Don't put yourself before others. If it makes no sense, accept the consequence of it, but don't be a fucking minion. If you're a jailer and you're holding somebody in jail for victimless crimes, victimless. There's no crime because there's no victim. Victimless crimes that you've committed yourself in life, let them out. You have the power to do that. Matter of fact, quit your job. This shit of, it's always, this is where this country failed. Two things. Number one, we're bred to obey. We're trained to obey our entire lives. Number two, it's not about our brothers anymore. We're not our brother's keeper anymore. It's about us. That's all it's about. For most people. That's all it's about. And until you learn to put other people in front of you, no matter what the consequence of doing so is, you have no chance at ever being free. You're never going to be fucking free on your own. And you're never going to be free for fighting for your own freedom. That's never going to happen. However, if you fight for the freedom of those around you and they see it, they will come together to fight for your freedom. And this, I'm not talking about the illusion of freedom, the shit we've been sold in our lifetimes, along with this fucking slavery, because that's what it is. Nobody's going to admit that's what it is. Not the normal person, not the normie. That's what it is. It's slavery by every definition of the word. Quit being a fucking slave. Alright, video over. Next topic. Another one, because neighbors came down today, 90-year-old dude, and he was talking about, he actually infuriated me. He didn't infuriate me. He pissed me off too, pretty much, though. He was talking about how much better this country has gotten since 1950. And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, what rock do you live under? He could not understand how being forced, so I used the example of, well, I don't want any services I'm allegedly offered by the government. I don't want your EMS. I don't want your cops. I don't want none of that shit. I don't want your schools. Yet I'm forced to pay taxes. That's slavery. If not, the government will do bad things to me if I don't pay them their ransom. And he said, well, when you go, don't you want a hospital? Don't you want to drive on roads? I'm like, you're not listening. I was talking about land taxes. If you want to talk about fuel taxes, we can talk about that. That's another conversation, though. The land taxes doesn't pay for the roads. Well, it all ties together. No, it don't. So you have people like that, and this dude votes. Guarantee he does. Guarantee he's a trumpeter. Who have no clue how the system works, yet have a say in the system. Which fucks me over in the end. Because I just want to be left the fuck alone. That's it. I just want to be left alone. I don't think I'm demanding too much. And I'm not asking, I'm demanding to be left alone. And in the meantime, as I demand that I'm left alone, I'm going to demand that you be left alone. And I will put you demanding that you're left alone before I put demanding myself, or before demanding myself to be left alone.